When you think about spring, I'm sure you probably think about flowers, right? Bees, the dawn of sunshine, and an awakening landscape. But when I think about spring in my country, Nigeria, this is what comes to mind. Sweat, pain, heat, and hellfire. The months of March, April, and May are the hottest in my country. At this time of the year, the sun is directly overhead us on its way to the northern hemisphere, so it rains down on us rather viciously, and nothing is spared. Human, animals, and even plants. So you may be wondering, how are my plants and my garden coping during this time of the year? Look at the material, babes. Lush, beautiful, well kept. Every single plant here is happy and green. Yes, I'm not gonna lie, we do have some casualties. I found that even with the most sun-loving plants, the new leaves just can't withstand this hot hellfire weather. These days, when I have a leaf that has burnt, it is oftentimes the newest leaves of my plants. The rest are extremely happy, come rain, come sunshine. But this wasn't always the case. In fact, let me tell you a very personal and also inspiring story. When I first started gardening, I absolutely detested this time of the year. I often wondered, why would God just create a season that was just dry and hot, devoid of rain? All it did was just cause sweat, sunburn, and hyperpigmentation. I longed for the rainy season, and I thought that was the only season that was important and mattered to a gardener in this part of the world. But oftentimes as humans, we forget that there's a reason for every season, as cliche as that may sound. And not just in the garden, but also in our lives. If we understood the reason behind every season in our life, we will always find something to look forward to, come rain or come sunshine. The key is also in realizing that complaining doesn't change anything. It just makes you bitter and waste your time. The key is in adjusting. Adjusting is very important. And recognizing the potential reason for that season. And I'm going to give you a practical example in this garden. So in my part of the garden, I have a small shaded area. And in that shaded area, I have kept my shade-loving plants. The house plants, the aeroids, all that good stuff. I've also arranged the plants in such a way that some of them shield the others from the intense, evil Nigerian sun, like I like to call it. This ficus audrey does a fantastic job in protecting a lot of the plants from the direction of the sun in that corner. I will also from time to time check on the plants, and if I observe anyone is still struggling, I will remove that plant and move it indoors. I've come to realize just because I live in a tropical country doesn't mean I have to grow every single plant outdoors. I then will replace that with a more heat-tolerant plant. This is one of the many benefits of container gardening. You can always move your plants and adjust them if you see them struggling in one space or the other. In the unshaded part of my garden, I grow heat and sun-loving plants, and this is where I want you to take out a very important lesson. Stop trying to do what doesn't work for the current season. I used to like to grow aeroids all over my garden, but I've come to realize that's not practical. Adjust and stick to what works for the current season of your life. This hot hellfire season is perfect to grow all manner of beautiful tropical flowering plants like canna lilies and hibiscuses. And boy, do I love my hibiscuses. This is actually one of my favorites, and I just found out recently she's about to bless me with an abundance of blooms. Anytime I come to this garden, something is always currently in bloom or about to flower, and that is precisely what happens when you do what works for the current season in your garden and in your life. Understanding the time and seasons in not just your garden but in your life will make you appreciate them even more. So I no longer actually dread this hot hellfire heatwave season like I used to. A part of me still does, but not like I used to. I actually use this opportunity to grow lots of things from seeds Definitely the sun-loving flowering seeds like your celusias, zinnias. I'm so excited to grow zinnias for the first time. Their blooms are so beautiful. I can't wait. And also marigolds. Let's plant some zinnia seeds together. This dry season is the perfect time to actually start planting seeds because you don't have that deluge of heavy rain that oftentimes will wash your seeds away and can pretty much drown your seedlings. You see why when you garden, you start to appreciate and see that honestly, God has a reason for every season. If it was just the rainy season every single time, sure, the weather will be cooler, but we'll have less flowers and we won't be able to grow a lot of things from seeds. And I think the same is really true for our lives. If it were all just good things and everything went according to plan and we had no challenges, how then will we be able to build character? I don't think we'll be as fruitful or as bountiful. Or just let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you guys agree? Growing things from seed is truly a journey in faith. It makes you appreciate plants a lot more. I can't believe these sunflowers I planted a couple of weeks ago are actually about to bloom. This season is also perfect for growing vegetables like tomatoes. Look at me growing my own tomatoes right behind my room window. But it does come with its own fair share of challenges. A demonic creature, is snapping my tomatoes in half. I've been trying to figure out what it is, but one of my followers gave me a scary hint. She told me it looks like the work of a grass cutter. A grass cutter is pretty much a big rat, and as the name implies, it does just cut grasses and vegetables. I have ordered an animal repellent thing from Temu, but I'm more terrified of the thought that a huge creature like that is in my garden. Oh Lord, please protect me and these plants from that creature that you created for some strange reason. Growing tomatoes has honestly been an interesting and challenging experience. I've learned the difference between vining and non-vining tomatoes, and I've also learned the ones that are best suited for containers. I've also learned that even though tomatoes are heat tolerant, it is best to grow seeds that are actually adapted or suited for our climate. What works for the girlies in California is not going to work for the girlies in tropical Africa. This is also true for peppers. This is a pepper that I got from a UK brand, but it just doesn't like the heat here and has been really miserable. I've learned to stick to heat-tolerant seed varieties, and this one is a perfect example. I have to separate all these guys in this planter, but for now, I'm just enjoying how beautifully they are growing. I can't believe I'm actually growing tomatoes. Some of you know that I used to struggle to grow them. I also have a tomato that's currently about to flower. Hopefully, that evil grass cutter doesn't get to this one. I'm also growing things like carrots. I grew this from seed and it's growing. It's very fascinating. I'm struggling with my kale. I didn't realize that kale is a vegetable that does not like the heat. So sis is very clearly struggling. But it's fine. We live and we learn. This is an example of a brand that makes seeds specifically for our tropical and hot climate. These sort of seeds made specifically for our climate tend to be a lot more expensive, but honestly I've come to realize that they are worth it. And if I'm gonna garden in this hot hellfire climate, I need to invest in this sort of seeds. When it comes to me planting seeds, I don't use seed trays anymore because I've realized they dry out so fast. Again, in our hot weather, it's always good to just adjust accordingly to your weather. So what I like to do is I like to use pots like this and I just sprinkle the seeds and then I just get a small layer of soil or a small portion of soil and then cover it. I then will eventually thin out the seeds and separate them as they grow. At this point, you might be watching this video and thinking, isn't this channel about houseplants? Why are we suddenly planting seeds? And I honestly wouldn't blame you. I feel like for someone like me that lives in a climate that I do, it's quite tricky to categorize myself into just one thing. I grow house plants, but I also grow outdoor plants. I grow landscaping plants, flowering plants, and also edible plants. I love to just grow everything green, and I don't feel like I need to restrict myself to just one aspect of horticulture or greenery. Unfortunately, the algorithm likes it when you stick to one thing. So sometimes this page, I'm sure it confuses people and also confuses the algorithm. I don't know, but if you're a lover of all things greenery, from tomatoes to houseplants to vegetables to gardenias, then you're on the right page because I pretty much touch on all those things. So do subscribe and I'm sure you won't regret it. I am trying to do a little experiment here with this trough. It used to be full of vegetables, but unfortunately, I don't know whether it's that frightening looking monstrous rat, but a lot of the vegetables didn't make it, so I'm starting from scratch. So I am starting a couple of seeds in this trough. A friend recently gifted me some seeds that had expired, so I'm just going to be really liberal and experimental with the seeds here and just spray a profuse amount on every single slot. And whatever germinates will germinate. Even if it's just one vegetable or one pepper that sprouts, I'm still going to be very grateful and appreciative, and I'll still nurture and love that plant regardless. So I got this for my neighbor and I'm just going to use it to protect these seeds from whatever creature has been devouring my vegetables. Speaking of seeds, this aloe, to my surprise, actually was pollinated by one of the insects we have here, and it produced a seed pod. And I'm just going to harvest this and leave this to dry, and maybe one of these days when I'm feeling really experimental, I will try growing this aloe vera from seed. Sorry, it's not an aloe vera, it's an aloe jucunda from seed. It is a very, very slow growing aloe, so it might take me years, but I'll give it a go. This hot weather has also been extremely great for composting. Some of you remember when I first started composting a couple of months ago, I didn't know what I was doing, but look at us now. The compost breaks down so rapidly because of the heat that in a matter of weeks, I already had compost I could use in my garden. You see, this is another reason why you should just be thankful of some of the seasons you encounter in your garden and in your life. Also, all this additional sunshine has been extremely beneficial for my indoor plants. They are all really happy and thriving, and I don't even have to put on my grow light as much. My home is now awash with so much light, especially in the mornings and afternoons, that sometimes it even hurts my eyes. So again, I'm thankful. I am thankful. I may sweat like a ram, occasionally and sometimes wonder why the heck, but I'm thankful. I'm also really appreciative of sunsets and evenings during this period. The sunset is usually so beautiful. And I enjoy coming out in my garden in the cool of the evening to sometimes just observe it. I've also learned that it is better to water your plants during the heat wave in the evenings, not in the morning, to prevent the reflection of water on your leaves from actually burning your plants when exposed to direct sunlight. So guys, at first I truly dreaded this season with all my heart and I didn't look forward to it. But I've come to actually really appreciate it. I've come to adjust accordingly, and I've come to recognize the importance and benefits of it. And that is one thing I want you to take out of this video. There are seasons in your life that you may dread, but I want you to just adjust accordingly, and I guarantee you, you'll be so glad you did. You not only have a happier life, but also a happier garden. Anyways, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye loves.